and I kind of just never paid attention to the fact that it says that on there. I would find that a little bit misleading that it says that on there. Um, like we know in science, it's not never all and never always. So just keep that in mind when you see stuff like that. Um, and this is a 100-watt bulb too. But anyway, always like choose the right heat element based on your species and size of your enclosure. So, alright, what's up, y'all? We got Ice Spice here with us, beautiful female ball python. Today we're just gonna be talking about heat. So we started off the series just breaking down exactly what the series is about, basically bringing home your first reptile. So one of the most important topics when keeping a reptile is heat. So let's kind of go over that a little bit. You're probably hearing a lot of new terms that you've never heard before, which is fair. There's also a lot of choices. There's a lot of things to choose from, like which one is the right one to choose. I'm not going to get into like species specific today. I will later on in the series of this video, but we just want to take it one step at a time. I want you to focus on one thing at a time and think about that as you're planning on bringing home your first reptile, or if you already did and now you're realizing that you didn't know what you were doing. So are you cold, girl? You're acting like you're cold. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of options, like I said. The first one I want to kind of go over is basking bulbs. And I want you to also keep in your mind that all of these things that I am talking about come in different wattages. Also, what you call it, UV index, things like that. So I won't really break that down too much, but I will kind of give you an idea of what that means, I guess, for you, like when it comes to choosing the enclosure size and then choosing the proper like heating elements for that. So anyway, back to basking bulbs. Now you're gonna see this product a lot. Just I don't know why they're so widely available. Like they're more widely available than a lot of the options that are like really good for reptiles. I don't understand it. It's kind of like an old way of doing things for in a lot of cases. Now I will say for a lot of desert species animals, basking bulb is not a terrible idea for daytime, but I will tell you that a lot of new reptile keepers get into trouble with these because they think that they only need this heat in the daytime, right? Which, if depending on where you live, maybe that is fine, right? But a better option would be something like a ceramic heat emitter or a deep heat projector, something that you can keep on all the time on a thermostat and it won't emit any light. What's wrong with you, girl? When it comes to these basking bulbs, they do emit light, and so the problem is with new reptile keepers, what they do is they have these on the enclosure, and then at nighttime they turn this off, which is the heat source. So then the animal doesn't have heat. And if this is the only heat source, it's like no heat matter, anything, this could be an issue, and that's how your animal gets sick. Especially if they are trying to digest food and they have no heat, that can be a huge problem for a reptile. Let's say your ceramic heat emitter goes out and you need to go to the pet store and they didn't have any there that night, and this is all you can find for the next day while you go to work. Okay, yeah, just go ahead and grab one, but I would probably either hook it up to your thermostat or on a timer for just a few hours until you can get that in there. And I don't want to argue about it, so if anyone disagrees with me, just disagree. I just think that ceramic heat emitter or DP projector is going to be a much better option in combination with a thermostat, a heat mat, and a separate UV light. Some people, anyway, I got all twisted up there because I was kind of like looking at it and realizing that it says for all reptiles on it, and I kind of just never paid attention to the fact that it says that on there. I would find that a little bit misleading that it says that on there. Um, like we know in science, it's not never all and never always. So just keep that in mind when you see stuff like that. And this is a 100-watt bulb too. But anyway, always like choose the right heat element based on your species and size of your enclosure. So anyway, I didn't pull out a ceramic heat emitter for us to look at, which I kind of regret a little bit because it would have been nice to kind of just show you here, but I can definitely take some b-roll of some, or maybe just post something up here so you can see what I'm talking about when I mention those things. If you're going to use a basket bulb, yeah, you can use it on a timer, but with some other heat source, something else that you can use for nighttime heat that doesn't give off light or doesn't emit light, because your animal is going to need a daytime and nighttime cycle. Your animal's going to need a daytime and nighttime cycle, and if that bulb is on all the time and it's just always, the light's always on, it's not going to create that cycle that you want. What's up, girl? She's so beautiful, I know. I love her. She was actually a rescue. She's doing so much better now. When we first got her, she was so skinny. You could see her spine. It was very sad, but she's doing good now. Anyway, so ceramic heat emitter or DP projectors are bulbs that you can use in like a dome or some kind of device that put bulbs in for reptiles or enclosures or animals, and it doesn't give off or emit any light, which is great because then you can have a constant heat source on your animal and you don't have to worry about light being emitted, especially if you have the enclosure in your bedroom or something like that. You need to have a thermostat connected to it, which the thermostat would be connected to that, and then the probe for the thermostat would be inside of the enclosure. So then you can set the thermostat so that it has a temperature that it turns on at. So if it gets low to this temperature, the thermostat is going to tell the heat emitter to turn back on, and once it gets high enough to the temperature that you have it to shut off, it's going to shut off. So hopefully you know what a thermostat is and how it works. It's the same like an air conditioner or heat element in your house. This is also going to be helpful for energy efficiency, so saving you some money, but also making sure that your animal doesn't get overheated. Just imagine being gone for 8 hours or 12 hours working a shift and then coming home. The quickest way to kill a reptile is to not give it water, but all the water is dried up and your animal is just there completely burnt or just overheated, and it's not great. It's not great. Yeah, that just made me sad. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you're going to be able to accomplish this with a ceramic heat emitter or DP projector in combination, depending on the animal, like snakes, ball pythons for sure. Having belly heat, which is heat that's underneath the enclosure, like or below the substrate, that they can go and sit onto when they need to digest their food. Now you would see your snakes move from the cooler side to the hot side of their tank pretty often, because they're adjusting their body temperature that way. So you might see them hang out on the warmer side all day, and then midday or late night, early morning, you might just only see them on the cool side, or vice versa. It just depends on the snake. I know I have some snakes that really prefer being on their cool side, and then I would only really see them on the warm side when it's after a feed-in or something like that, and I know that they're just trying to digest their food so they can have a bowel movement and be happy and comfortable. So what was I saying? Yeah, so you're gonna hear the term creating a gradient a lot. So this just kind of goes back to what I was saying just now. Like you'll see your snake hanging out on the cool side and then also hanging out on the hot side. So it's where you have your heat, and your heat mat is the warmer side. I kind of like to have the heat kind of like closer to the heat mat area, like wherever the heat mat is, so that I can create a basking spot, which is kind of like a spot where the snake can get a little bit closer to the heat and really get to its preferred temperature, I would say. So this is going to be the spot that's the hottest in the tank. And yeah, that's what we would call a basking spot. But a basking spot is also a spot where they can go and lay on that heat mat as well. That would also be considered a basking spot as well, because they're basking there and trying to digest their food, right? Just giving you a little bit of vocabulary and a little bit of understanding of like how that kind of works. Like I said, everything that we talk about, I'm gonna make other videos going into more detail. So basically I'll be going into more detail about different ceramic heat emitters, different heat projectors, different size enclosures, and which one fits it better, right? But if you think about it like this, if you have this really huge enclosure, a 40-watt ceramic heat emitter in a mini dome might not be the best for that enclosure. Also, again, if you have a really tall enclosure and your animal is an animal that likes to hide on the ground underneath the hide, also again, like a 40-watt ceramic heat emitter might not be the best. Now, it might heat up the enclosure eventually, but it will take longer and it won't really cover enough surface area for that animal in an enclosure like that. Especially if I had someone like Spice or some of my even smaller snakes in a, let's say, I'm gonna go by gallons because it's more familiar to newer people. Let's say it was a 75-gallon tank or a 40-gallon breeder. It probably wouldn't be efficient enough heat for her in that enclosure, and I would probably be depending a lot on like my heat mat or something like that. But it could be great if she likes to climb and she wants to get to the top right underneath that ceramic heat emitter, even though it's only 40 watts, right? It could be perfectly fine. So maybe you have two of those. You have the 40-watt up really high and then another one in another area. If you have a tank big enough like that, that is creating a basking spot that's much hotter, but that might be more than you bargained for, because then you would have to have a thermostat on that as well, and it would need to be very specific to that area of the enclosure. And I hope all this is making sense, and if it's not, you can feel free to message me and ask me any questions. Now the thing with UV is it's very important if you think about the way we use the sun, and you know, this is how they kind of like get calcium from their food. And like I said, we're gonna go into that in more depth, but the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because UV bulbs also create heat, and it's yeah, it's quite interesting how it all kind of works together in an enclosure, and you like create this ecosystem for an animal, and it's it's like all of it is very important for the survival of this animal. So I just really hope people start to take more responsibility in doing research when purchasing animals, and I hope that I can help with that. I hope I'm someone that you just feel like you relate to, and you know, you find my perspective useful. So I guess the last thing we would just talk about is, we was already talking about belly heat, but belly heat, you're gonna achieve this by using some type of heat mat, and they come in all different sizes. So again, you just want to choose the appropriate one for your species and your size of enclosure, right? Because you want to cover an area that's big enough for the size of your animal, right? That your animal can lay on and kind of stretch out in its hide and use that heat mat to use it to help digest its food. Um, so the thing with heat mats also is you want to also have a thermostat on that as well. So you're going to put a probe connected to that heat mat and set it so that the heat mat doesn't get too hot. A perfect example of this is earlier today, I actually came in and somehow the probe for one of my snakes, this one up here, was somehow got knocked loose from the heat mat. And this is something that I check pretty often. So it couldn't have been more than a day or two that had been going on. I can't 100% say that I checked her thermostat yesterday, but I'm pretty sure I did. But anyway, I just noticed that the temperature on her thermostat was really low, and I kind of walked away for a minute just thinking like maybe it got misted, it got wet or something. But then I was like, no, it's the top one, which is her heat mat. It's not her above heat. So I did some further investigation and looked under, and I noticed the probe wasn't attached to it. So when I did finally attach the probe back to the heat mat was at 102 degrees, which is not very concerning for her because one, she has a thick layer of substrate, but also like 100 degrees is not terrible, and she was on her cool side. She was on the side where the heat mat is not at. So she was in her cool side because it was hot. So it's a perfect example of what we mean by heat gradient in the reptile community and why it's important. She was able to get away from that heat and go somewhere and stay comfortable. At least I think she was comfortable because she looked like she was chilling. I'm gonna put this girl up because I think she wants to go. In a second. I'm sorry. There you go. You're so beautiful. Yeah, take your time. Go ahead, take your time. Let go of me. A little bit of mixed instructions there. Yeah, anyway, she's doing okay. She's still actually on her cool side. And her thermostat right now for that heat mat says 84 degrees and it's on, so that means it's heating back up. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so you do want to have that, and I'm gonna, again, we're gonna go through this in more detail, and I'm gonna show you exactly like how to set it up and things like this. I'm just kind of like preparing you for all of the things that go with each other. Anyway, yeah, so again, it's kind of the same thing too. When you hook the thermostat up to the heat mat, it's just more energy efficient. It's going to keep it at a good temperature so it doesn't get too hot. It's also going to be an alert for you to know if it's working or not if you have it hooked up to a thermostat, because you'll be able to see that temperature change and if it's working or not. If it's not changing, then it's probably not working at all. If you see that your thermostat is consistently on and it's not getting any higher, like it's not getting hotter, the numbers are not getting higher, then you need to check your heat element because it's probably not working. And this is where a lot of new reptile keepers get in trouble when it comes to heat, because You just do it all wrong. You know, you go buy that heat mat with that adhesive, and it just gives you the instructions to tape it on to the back or the side or the bottom of the enclosure, right? But then you have no way of checking it to see how hot it's actually getting, and then snakes get burnt because they sit on top of the heat mat. It does happen. Or a ceramic heat emitter gets too hot, and the whole thing catches on fire because it's just overheated, or it just melted through the whole top of your enclosure because you set it too far back on the side and you left all day, and it never got a chance to shut off and cool off. So yeah, it's a dangerous game when you play with a lot of this, a lot of these tools and instruments that we use to keep these animals alive. So I would say just take it very seriously, and if you still are confused, there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of people that make content about this. I'm going to continue to make videos going into more depth about everything and showing you step by step. And if you have questions, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me here. You can reach out to me on Instagram as well. And I just really love the hobby. I love where it's going. I love that there are so many people now doing this, loving their animals and advocating for what's right when it comes to them. And I just couldn't be any more proud or happy to be in this moment now, being able to make content like this. And I just hope you guys enjoy it, and I will try to keep it interesting and fun, but also I take it seriously. So it's videos like this. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of distractions with editing and graphics and sound and all that stuff, just because I'm hoping that you're just in tune with learning when it comes to this. I'm not perfect by far, and but being in this industry with animals over the last few years and having all my friends here, really has taught me a lot about myself, about empathy, about humanity, and like morals. And I think you would find the same is for you as well once you get into keeping reptiles or whatever animal you are trying to keep, and maybe you're just interested in learning about reptiles and what other people are doing, so you're watching these videos. That's okay too. Yeah, whatever it is that brought you here, I'm glad you're here, and hope we can have some good times together and good memories, and learn something. And let me know how the hobby is going for you. Comment if you already have an animal you want to share what species you got, where you got it from, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can really build a community here. And yeah, I would say the biggest con of this is that it's very easy to go from one animal to 10 to 15 once you get the hang of it. So I would say just be cautious with that and go slow with that as well, because these animals do get sick. They do sometimes require some financial assistance that you might not always be prepared for, and sometimes it might be a hard choice for you to choose between paying a vet bill and paying a light bill or buying groceries. So just think about that when you're going to reptile shows and you're seeing all these beautiful animals on tables, and you just want to take it home and give it a good home. Taking it home and giving it a good home can have a lot of meanings. So I hope I really touched on all the things that come with heat. I think I did. Like I said, again, this is kind of the basics of it, and we're going to go further and further in depth as we start building this series of videos. And yeah, thank you. I don't know, I'm just rambling now. I don't even know what to be talking about anymore. I'm going to get out of here. Just let me go.